Will the USA obtain Greenland? Short answer, most definitely not. Long answer, let's see where we can go with this question and see what we can actually do with it. Let's have a geography talk. By the way, guys, I keep forgetting to promote this. I have merch. Like, if you want to get Geography Now t-shirts or whatever, go to geographynow.com. I also have a Patreon. I'm really bad at like promoting and marketing myself and, capitalizing off of an audience for my profit. I'm terrible at it. Sorry, guys. But anyway, if you want t-shirts or if you want to support my Patreon, whatever, do it. Anyway, back to the topic. So there are 3 things I hate more than anything else on Earth: mosquitoes, waiting in long lines, and being cold. That being said, I am absolutely fascinated by the Arctic region of this planet. And for some reason, I keep going back to it. I've been to Greenland twice, once in the winter and once in the summer. I was even lucky enough to bring my mom there. Let me show you something. My mom even made this painting on my wall. Let me focus in. Those are the summer drifting icebergs in Ilulissat Fjord. Oftentimes when my subscribers meet me, they always ask, what's your favorite place you've ever visited? And I'm always kind of careful when I answer this question because everybody wants me to say their country. But if I have to be completely honest, I have some of my best memories in Greenland. I would definitely put it in like maybe the top 3 or maybe even 2 places I've ever been to. It's just like a completely different planet up there. Everything's just like rock and ice. And yet the people there are so badass. Like I remember I met like a 14-year-old girl waiting for a bus in Nuuk, the capital. And she was like, yeah, the other day I shot a muskox and fed my family and now we're having it for dinner. It's like, from a young age, everyone is taught how to take the cold and the completely and utterly inhospitable conditions and not only survive in it, but thrive in it. It's like everyone from the teacher to the plumber to the artist to the musician to the freaking, IT guy that works in an office. It's like they all know how to hunt and fish and fight for their lives. And then they just go home and chill and watch Netflix or they go play billiard pool at Daddy's. That's my favorite bar in Nuuk. Go there and check it out if you ever visit. For the longest time, Greenland has had just like this deep rooted special place in my heart. And this topic actually kind of hits me a little personally. So by now, yes, everyone has heard about the Greenland thing, okay? Yes, in recent years, President Trump has entertained the thought of buying Greenland. Which of course, initially sounds pretty hilarious because it's like, it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like we already have enough domestic issues to worry about. And then suddenly like Greenland pops out of nowhere. Like we haven't talked about Greenland since like World War II. And although the topic is kind of random, the weird thing is it does kind of open up some other avenues of discussion that kind of needed to be opened up. So I've explained in previous episodes, but for those of you that are new to the channel, let me give you a quick little overview about Greenland. Greenland is this massive island in the Arctic. It's about 80% perpetually covered in what is called the ice sheet, whereas the remaining 20% are these fringe fjord areas along the coasts where the entire population lives, and about 90% on the west side of the island. Today they have a population somewhere around 60,000 or so people, making them the most sparsely populated region on Earth. Is Greenland a country? Well, yes and no. On paper, they are considered a constituent country under the Kingdom of Denmark. Yet they were given home rule in 1979 and extra autonomy and self-rule in 2009. So that means other than some high-level diplomatic decisions, Denmark pretty much kind of leaves them alone and they are allowed to pretty much rule themselves autonomously. The problem is they kind of have like a very heavily intertwined social structure that is heavily Danish-based. They learn Danish as a second language. Most of their trade and imports go through Denmark. Also, their social services and currency are Danish, so that kind of holds them in. And if the topic of secession or even annexation from another state is brought up, if they have not decided to claim independence yet, then technically those measures will have to go through Denmark. Now, here's the deal. The whole concept of the US somehow administering Greenland is not a new one. Like, there have been multiple times throughout history where the US has either thought of or even attempted to not only purchase Greenland, but even Denmark at some point in time were kind of like thinking about it, and they were kind of like, shit, nah. It's like that kombucha girl meme, like, no, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me explain a few things. Context, okay? So I already explained this in my USA episode, but apart from annexation and battles and all that, also island referendums, like when American Samoa actually voted to stay with us, which was kind of weird, but hey, whatever. And then we got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But anyway, aside from all that, much of the US also expanded by purchases, such as the Louisiana Purchase, which pretty much doubled the size of the USA. Or like when we bought Alaska from the Russians at cheap wholesale prices. That being said, the idea of purchasing Greenland and even Iceland at one time, because they were also under the Danish, has been lingering around since the 1860s, since one of our former secretaries of state wrote a proposal, but it never got to Congress, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they were thinking about it. And it wasn't until the 1910s that the US was actually given a serious option. Because see, back in those days, Denmark was having some financial issues and it wasn't really seen as profitable to maintain their far-off colonies. So they offered the US to buy the Danish West Indies, which are now the Virgin Islands. Yes, my fellow Americans that didn't know, we bought the Virgin Islands from Denmark, which is why today you can still see Danish named places like Christiansted, Neltjeburg, Lavenlund, and Frederiksted. The catch was, in order to get the Virgin Islands, the US would have to recognize the Danish claim over Greenland. So we were like, sure, why not? Because if they tried to sell it to the UK in order to expand their Canadian colony, because back then Canada was still part of the UK, y'all weren't independent yet, we would have seen that as an act of war or hostile activities due to the Monroe Doctrine, which basically opposed any further European expansion in the Americas. Now, this transaction with the Virgin Islands was probably the closest that Denmark came to considering selling Greenland, because all we had to do was recognize Denmark's claim over Greenland, just like we did with the Danish West Indies, because you can't buy something if you don't recognize the seller. And although the idea was thrown around and discussed, at the end of the day, it was dropped and it didn't happen again. Fast forward World War II, Denmark cannot effectively defend Greenland because, they're too busy getting attacked by Nazis. So in 1941, they come up with an agreement to allow the USA to build military bases on Greenland and to keep them there as long as there is a perceived threat. When the US heard this, they went ham. They started building bases all the way in the south, the first one at Narsarsuaq, and then they went all the way to the furthest northernmost base at Thule, which is now called Pittufik Air Base. Now it's a Space Force station. The US even built Kangerlussuaq Airport, which has the longest runway in all of Greenland, and for the longest time up until 2024 was the main international hub for all of Greenland, until Nuuk extended their runway and now they can accommodate larger commercial jets like Airbus 330s or whatever, I forgot the numbers. And what's crazy is during the height of the Cold War, the American population actually outnumbered the Greenlandic population for a time. That's how many people were stationed there. Today, the only one that hasn't been decommissioned is the northernmost base at Thule or Pittufik. They changed the name, which is close to the town of Qaanaaq. You have no idea how badly I want to go to Qaanaaq. Oh my god, that's one of my dream destinations. But yeah, to this day, they are still allowed to have that base there. So during World War II and the Cold War, the US had a presence. They were in charge of defending Greenland. And of course, because of all this, it kind of pushed more of an interest in the US in Greenland affairs. However, the Danish government has always kind of been like, thank you, but no, we can't give it to you. Former Danish Foreign Minister Gustav Rasmussen is quoted for saying, "While we owe much to America, I do not feel that we owe them the whole island of Greenland." And in 1947, former Danish Agriculture Minister Jens Sundrup is quoted for saying in a budget debate, "There have been rumors in the newspapers about America wishing to acquire Greenland. King Dollar is, so to speak, about to become a major factor in all areas. I am not aware of any approach concerning the purchase of Greenland, but assume that it is given that we will not embark on anything in that respect. Should the Greenlanders desire any relationship or secession, that would be another matter. But in this respect, there can be no question of any form of financial transaction." Take note on that last sentence, though. Should the Greenlanders desire any relationship or secession, that would be another matter. Because here's the deal. This whole time, we've been talking about the USA and Denmark, USA, Denmark, USA, Denmark. But there's actually a completely forgotten, often dismissed third party that nobody seems to remember or talk about. The actual Greenlandic people. Now, trust me, I would love to speak on behalf of this topic, but I feel like it wouldn't do any justice unless if I had an actual Greenlandic person to speak for themselves. So with that, let me introduce you to my number one favorite go-to Greenlander, Malik. The first Greenlandic friend I ever made, and this guy knows his stuff. He's very passionate. He's actually very politically involved, and he works actually in the Greenlandic government. He's very passionate about Greenland. This guy, anything Greenland, this is my go-to guy. Here we go. Hey Malik, how are you? How are you doing?
Hey man, good to see you again.
Yeah, you're in your car right now, and you're in Greenland.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a snowstorm here in Nuuk.
Oh my god,
I'm taking just a few minutes off from work to
Whoa,
do this talk.
Look at that. That is crazy. Hope you're staying warm out there in your car in the middle of a snowstorm.
Yeah, even though it's snowing and it's storming, it's not that cold. We have about 0.5 plus degrees here.
That's not bad. That's not even freezing.
We're in the US now.
Well, first of all, hi, and how are you guys? Are you guys ready to be Americans? Okay, so Malik, let's just kind of explain to the viewers right now, why is Greenland such a center of focus? Why is it so important?
Oh yeah, Greenland has been very important for other countries for many years, especially for the United States, military-wise, security-wise. So there's been bases in Greenland since the Second World War.
So Malika, can you explain to the viewers what is a Greenlandic person?
Oh yeah, a Greenlandic person should be maybe a person living in Greenland or has roots from Greenland. 80% of the Greenlandic population is Inuit, but the Inuits are spread across the Arctic. So you have Inuits in Alaska and in Canada as well. Our particular Inuits it's called the Thule Eskimos or Thule Inuits. But then again, there's also been Vikings that settled in Greenland around same period, 900s and something.
A little bit of a mix, mostly Inuit, a little bit of Danish, but yeah.
Yes.
So you guys are a constituent country within the Kingdom of Denmark. You have your own self-rule. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. We are a country. Greenland is a country, Faroe Island is a country, and Denmark is a country. Together we make up what is called the Commonwealth of Denmark, or the Reich of Denmark.
Right.
It's
Nice.
Yeah, but really, we are not technically a country under the UN, so we don't have a seat in the UN. We have our own language, our own culture, our own territory, and our own national song, our own flag. We have most of what makes up a country, but we don't have a constitution yet, and we don't have like self-representation in foreign relations, which is under the Danish constitution, which Greenland is under.
Well, you have a constitution written but ready to go when you're...
Yeah, we have we have a draft that is ready to be voted on. Really, it may need a few tweaks, but really it's kind of ready. We have the right since 2009 in the Self-Government Act to vote on in a referendum on independence, and we could implement that.
So you could, by all means, if you really wanted to, tomorrow you could claim independence, in theory.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Practically, I think there should be maybe some time before you announce the referendum. But yeah, technically we could. Much of the groundwork has been done. What is missing is the financial aspect of financing a whole country without subsidies. But it's not that much, really. It's about 0.8 billion US dollars more we need in the treasury now, so I think we can get there.
Yeah, well, American, we can start a GoFundMe for you.
Oh yeah, that would be so nice.
Yeah, we'll get you covered.
Yeah.
It's so complicated. Like, what do Greenlanders feel about? Do they feel Danish? What is the sentiment of Greenland towards Denmark? And I know this is kind of a heavy question, but yeah.
We have close relationships with Denmark, and we are technically Danish citizens. I, for myself, I'm half Danish and half Greenlandic, so I feel Danish in another way than most people here. But yeah, we feel like part of the Nordic Union, the Nordic countries, quite similar in many ways. But then again, there's so many other cultural aspects and just the way that the Greenlandic mind works that is not really Danish.
Sure.
But we have a great union, and it's called a community of the realm, but really it's more like a unit of three parts.
So, okay, let's move on to the whole America thing. American involvement in Greenland goes back to war times, and even after they decommissioned all of the former bases, there's always still been like a lingering presence of the USA's involvement and interest in the Arctic. You guys are even geographically closer to the USA and Canada. What is the general sentiment Greenlanders have to all of this, and what do they feel about Americans?
I think generally Greenlanders like America, but there's also some pressing issues like militarization. Greenland has no military. We have never had a military and no soldiers. The idea of militarizing Greenland more than it already is with the one base can be a pressing issue for some. But so you need the military presence in Greenland, maybe expanding it a bit so there's some more reconnaissance on the east coast. Denmark is not able to do much with the 4 ships that it has, that is being downgraded to 2 now. So I guess maybe there's a valid point, but you are allowed to that. You're allowed military presence since 1940, and then it was expanded in 51, and then again expanded upon in 2004. But it's all adhering to NATO SOFA agreements.
So recently, Donald Trump Jr. Actually visited Greenland, and it seemed like you guys, like when I saw it on the news, you guys were kind of like you were courteous, like you were accommodating at least, and you were willing to engage and show your hospitality at least. But regardless of whatever was going through your heads, I don't know. Do you think this ultimately would lead to anything, or what do you think about that whole thing?
It leads to a great discussion no matter what. I have really hard time predicting what it's going to mean in the future, really on the technical and political idea, because how does it really happen in practical terms? Because we have Greenland that also has rights. We are people that have rights to our own representation, and also, of course, we have right to be an independent country. I don't know. I mean, I hope it's going to be more a financial and economic exploration from the United States that can also benefit us.
Sure.
But if it's going to be like a hostile takeover, I don't think it's going to be that.
Yeah, because we're talking about like agreements, and we're also talking about annexation, which are two separate things. Which,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if the latter would be something Greenlanders would be looking forward to.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. But I think, closer cooperation, and of course, the United States has a lot of potential here.
So let's work with that. Something, right?
Yeah, of course. We have also the Igaliku agreement where the United States says that they want to work with Greenland closer on these exploratory projects. So we hope that it will come to fruition in a peaceful manner, and also with the benefit of the United States and us.
Let's work with this. Would you guys be comfortable with some kind of like free association status? Kind of like what we did with Micronesia and Palau?
I think, yeah. Independence doesn't have to be like a switch that just turn on and then you just have a sovereign state all in one. We could start in steps like with free association agreements and some kind of guarantee for our financial security.
That would be kind of cool. Yeah, because then you guys still have your sovereignty, but then you don't have to link completely in perpetuity to the USA. So
yeah, absolutely.
That would be kind of cool.
I think that would be a realistic way to maybe tackle the issue.
Okay. What do Greenlanders want ultimately?
I think Greenlanders want recognition, really, to be an equal player on the playing field, recognized as a whole sovereign people.
Do you think it would be easy for less than 60,000 people to manage the world's largest island?
Yeah, I think it's not an issue. I mean, we have internet, everything. Everybody's connected. Everybody knows each other almost here, even though we live so far apart. I think the idea that we are a small population doesn't have to be an issue. Maybe it's even easier to manage that way.
Yeah, that is kind of true. Yeah, then you have less to allocate with the taxes and everything, and makes things a little easier. You know me, I love Greenland, and it's always had a huge place in my heart. I'm cheering for you guys no matter what you choose to do. But if you decide to move forward in any way that involves the US, I'm here to embrace you guys. That's all.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel that.
Cool. Well, any last words you want to say to the world out there with Greenland?
Yeah, we just opened a new airport here in Nuuk, so it's easier to travel here.
Oh, that's true.
But
yes.
I see that tickets are getting ripped away, so maybe just order them in good time.
Yeah, you guys are probably about to get a lot of tourism now. Right?
Yeah, already. We are stacked with journalists right now. All the hotels are completely booked by journalists.
Nuuk is about to get nuked with tourism.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, well, Malik, I really appreciate this. I think, hope you have a good one, and get out of your car and go into a warm building. All right.
Yeah, I'll do that now. See you.
Hope you have a good one. So there you go. You've heard from Malik, and let me just say this. Like, it's an issue that seems to kind of fall flat at the beginning, but then you realize it kind of opens up a Pandora's box on what the future of Greenland could actually potentially look like. Greenland is just fascinating because the way it functions, it's the most developed of all the Arctic and Inuit areas, and they've kind of figured stuff out. If they gain independence, they would be the world's first fully sovereign Inuit nation. But, and this is a very far-reaching but with a huge caveat, but if they decide to move in a different direction, that could also be an interesting thing too. And look, I'm just saying, I'm an American. I've been to Greenland. I've met Greenlandic people. They are some of the coolest, best people I've ever met in my life. And look, I know you're probably laughing at it and you probably wouldn't want to join the USA, but if you actually do, I would be happy to have you in my family, okay? I'm just saying. You guys are so badass, and you would be really cool Americans, I swear. And we already have some Inuits in Alaska anyway, your cousins, so you could just, hang out with them, your cousins, you get along with them anyway, right? I'd be happy to have you guys, man. Greenlandic people are the best. They're the coolest. What do you want? You want that roll grill maflul, or you want some straight up fatty burgers? I know you Greenlandic people like your fat and protein. We got a lot of that here. Granted, yours is not industrially processed with a lot of chemicals, and it's more fresh and organic and way better than ours, but still, you get the point. Whatever you decide to do, Greenland, I'm gonna be cheering you on no matter what. But if you want to join the family, I would definitely welcome you guys, and I'm just saying on my own personal accord, I'm just saying. Tell you what, Greenland, if you join the USA in any kind of capacity, even if it's like a free association status where you have your own sovereignty, but you have some kind of diplomatic dealings with us, if you do that, I will learn your national anthem and I will sing it, okay? I know I can do it. I already learned the lyrics to Nanook's, what's that song? It's like, Keteshingangi-shak. I love it. I love you guys, Greenland. No matter what happens, I'm cheering for you guys. You got my US love, my big fat US love everywhere. No matter where you go and no matter what you choose, I'm here to give you a big fat ass American hug. All right? Greenland, love you guys. Cheers.